Okay, hey Tim.
Hello.
Alrighty, today we're going to talk about business coaching and what it takes to be visible online. I know that a lot of coaches are in the business because they're interested in time, location, and financial freedom. And one of the awesome things for me um, is the internet because I get to live anywhere in the world and still run a really successful business, which is such a blessing. Um, And considering that I do live internationally, um, networking face to face isn't really an option for me. So all of my clients and everything that I do is because of my visibility online.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited to talk about this topic because it is so important, and it's ultimately what we're all after, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing to me that you can be in Honduras, I'm in Ohio, and what we had maybe thought was difficult to do other than through Skype even just a few years ago, here we are able to create a live presentation today. And it's something I think a lot of people would find valuable if they realize the value of something like this.
Yeah, and honestly, this is what I believe is the next step to positioning yourself as the next millionaire. I believe that it is so important to have that visibility and to be creating value utilizing all of these technologies online, including Blab, Periscope, videos. That's really the key, I believe, to positioning yourself in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, once again, we're seeing a shift, and we're seeing that shift technologically in what people are looking for. And so, a few years ago, we had Internet 1.0. Then we get what they called Internet 2.0. And then, of course, you had YouTube and Facebook and then Twitter, and things changed there. And now I think that it's changing again. That evolution and revolution was about a 10-year period of development, growth, visibility for people. But now we have something else, because just like anything, I think that Twitter maybe has its place, but it's not good enough for some people to get that message across in 140 characters. And so now what's the next version of Twitter? Well, it's Periscope. What's the next version of Facebook and LinkedIn? And Blab is going to have its place in podcasting, YouTube. And now you can take a session like this that we're blabbing, and now we can put it on podcasts, or we can put it on YouTube and that type of thing. And so we're really here at this next place where people are going to find what it's going to take to gain the visibility that you're talking about, I think.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? When I started in internet marketing, there was no Twitter. Facebook wasn't what it is today. I remember when email marketing was so stinking shady. Hello, Lee. Thank you for joining. Welcome to our blab. Yeah, I remember when I first started internet marketing, um, people were buying lists. People still do that, but it's frowned upon now. But
Yeah.
it was so shady. There was no Twitter. Facebook was not an advertising platform. Basically, your only forms of advertising were email marketing and buying media on websites that had great traffic. And it was super expensive. And you pretty much needed to go through a media company in
Mm-hmm.
order to get that done, which is what I was in the business of. So today, the power that the individual entrepreneur has is amazing. I
Yeah,
mean, we
it
really
is.
possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
remarkable.
remarkable. Yeah, definitely. And I am so blessed to have been in this industry for 10 years, and I've seen the evolution, and I know that it works. And I think that's what makes me good as a business coach, because I know that the internet works, and if you have the right systems and structures in place, there's no reason why you wouldn't be successful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a firm believer of that.
Yeah. I was talking to a client of mine the other day, and we were talking about in the 70s, in the 80s, there was only 3 stations you could watch. There was ABC, NBC, and CBS. And then it shifted in the 80s to cable. And then people started watching CNN and ESPN and USA and these niche specific stations, news, sports, other weather, the Weather Channel. And now you have something where media is changed again. And now these forms of media are just as valuable or just as important as ABC and NBC were years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You can do the same things. And so I think that not only has the media changed, but the way we all communicate has changed. The way we all interact and get information has changed. And so it does create a platform for us to get the visibility that we need. And we have to look at it like that. If we don't look at it like somebody did, a news station did, maybe back in the 70s, where they were going to be on each day and create that consistency and that repetition, then we won't be building quite like they did, and our success won't be quite there. But if we can look at it like that and realize the importance of it, I think then we will value it, and then the people that we want to communicate to will value it as well. And that's the important thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's actually why we're in business, is because it's the consistency piece that people struggle with. It's you can download a freebie PDF that gives you an awesome marketing plan, but where people struggle is with the consistency. Even with myself, I have my visibility structure, and it's not always easy to follow. But like you said, that's a really good point. What they knew in the 70s with TV being, the broadcasting being a new thing, they knew consistency was key. And that's the same true today, even with all of these technologies. You have to be consistent, be providing value consistently, and nurturing your audience, which is really the key.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Don't laugh, but when I was little, I wanted to be Oprah. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, it's not so impossible today. You really can just create a YouTube channel, slowly but surely create the content to inspire and encourage people, which is a big part of what I already do. And just really put yourself out there. It is a lot easier to be Oprah today than it was when she broke through however many years ago, especially being a woman, being an African-American woman, and the technology wasn't around where she could actually take it into her own hands. We really have the power. We are the content today. It's not like, oh, you're hoping for a big break. You can make your own big break. I have a friend on YouTube. I have a few friends on YouTube that are YouTube stars. One of them just got published a cookbook.
Okay.
And she got picked up by the Food Network. But she's been doing YouTube videos and creating a cooking show out of her kitchen basement. Yeah. I mean, it's very well done. She didn't start off doing it like as beautifully as it is today, but she's been doing it for 5 years consistently, 3 times a week. And her recipes are amazing. So she has created her own, home cook celebrity.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's all it takes, really. It just takes the courage to actually get out there and realize that in the same way we used to flip channels and look for what was interesting to us, people are flipping channels. People are going online and they're looking at all their options because they have a computer in front of them. They have all the control you could ever want. Are you going to watch the news show? Are you going to go on YouTube? Are you going to watch Blab? What are you going to do with your attention? And right now, it's being able to have something consistent, like you mentioned, and be able to hold someone's attention and be interesting enough to hold their attention and to create valuable content, and having the courage like your friend did to actually just get out there and begin to work it and do it.
And, it does take investment, because I was thinking about her and I'm like, she tries all of her recipes several times before it's approved to actually make a video and teach people how to make it. And, that's an investment into the cameras, into the time investment, the money spent to buy the food, to recreate it. I mean, if you do like, even a simple dish can be like $20-$30. You make it 3 times, that's $60 just into that one episode that you've invested, not to mention the time, the energy, filming equipment, turning her kitchen into a studio. And the same thing for us in business. I am a firm believer in needing to invest in yourself and not be playing business. You know my story. I mean, I've been wanting to start a business for so long, and I had so many hangups because I'm not a coder. So I was like, I can't build a website. I don't know how to, write good, compelling copy for my site. So I just had all of these reasons to keep myself stuck. And then I just decided to invest in myself and invest in the business and treat it like a business, and outsource those things out to get them done instead of being stuck in the same place.
Yeah. Well, and that's the commitment that it takes, right? I mean, that's the commitment that it takes. And so that commitment starts, and it you want to build momentum through your commitment. So you get committed, and in something like this that you're going to choose to be on weekly, you create consistency, accountability. I've always found when I work with my clients, the tool that I think works better than anything is the 4 disciplines of execution. The 4 disciplines of execution are: know your wildly important goal. That's number 1. Number 2 is act on the lead measures, or act on those lead activities that can get you to the goal. It's number 2. Number 3 is create a compelling scoreboard. So if you'd see my office, you can see there's some scoreboards here and there, because you have to know how to move the scoreboard. And then number 4, have a cadence of accountability.
Have a what?
A cadence of accountability, or consistent accountability to move the scoreboard. Mm-hmm. And so bringing that back into our conversation, when you look at that cadence of accountability, a cadence of accountability creates momentum. Mm-hmm. So you start out with commitment over here. You set your goals, of course, you get committed to your goal, and then you develop the cadence of accountability, and all of a sudden it generates momentum. Well, momentum at this level will create growth, because you'll go higher. So you go higher, there's more growth, and ultimately there's a snowball effect to build the business. And so that's the important thing, is having that commitment, as you said, treating it like a business and allowing that growth to take place.
And why do you think so many people get stuck?
Get stuck where? Where when you say get stuck?
Well, let's pick, they get stuck in this cycle of, I can't find clients, and then they kind of stop trying to execute, and then they're like, other things come into play, like, they're inconsistent with their visibility then. And it kind of like snowballs, like it starts with keep getting really clients, you beat yourself up, then you stop taking the actions needed, that you were doing. And then it kind of becomes like this self-fulfilling prophecy of, no momentum, no accomplishment. Right?
Yeah. It does. And I think there's 2 things. One is a lack of vision, because a lack of vision is, we can have the vision, we can have a goal or a dream. Mm-hmm. But when I say lack of vision, what I mean is we lack not just the vision of where we want to go, but how the things today are tied into getting the vision. Mm-hmm. So I think there's two main things: that lack of executing the vision, and the lack of a support team that also believes in what we're doing and will energize us. Mm-hmm. Because we need an infusion of energy from the outside, an infusion of faith and belief in our objectives, in our goals to get there. Mm-hmm. And if we don't have that, if we don't have those reminders in place, always keeping the vision in mind and people to support us, that's when we're usually going to get stuck. Mm-hmm. So it's not just why are we stuck, but how do we get unstuck? We have to, number one, refocus on the vision, refocus on what we're doing. Number two, refocus on how do we execute? What do we need to do day to day to get there? And number three, how can we infuse it with some other people to keep us accountable, to energize us, to believe in us, and to partner with us? Right. And that's really the formula of getting unstuck.
Mm-hmm. So what would be your recommendation to someone struggling with getting visible? Because that is really the key to having a successful online business, is getting visible.
Well, again, I think the first key is know where you want to go. Map out. It's got to be intentional. For anything to be successful, you've got to get intentional about it. Yes. And then you have to ask for help. If you don't know what you're doing, or even if you do know what you're doing, you need to ask to get support. So you need to find somebody to support you. It doesn't matter who you are. I come from a very small town, a small town of less than 5,000 people. Okay. Whether you live in where you lived in New York City, or you live in a small town like I live in, you have to find support somewhere. You can find support right here, like we found, and yet we live thousands of miles apart. We've never met each other in person. Mm-hmm. But we can support each other. You can get that kind of support, or you can get a support from a friend, a family member, somebody like that. Or the next level of support, I would say, is a mastermind group, a board of advisors that you create, or a coach that would help you. Any way you go about it, we need that support. So that's our team. And I look at it like sports a lot of times. Soccer or football, in Honduras, you have football, you have soccer. Yeah. And if you don't get out on the playing field, you're not going to get any visibility. If you just like to play, on the side yard, in the back alley with the neighborhood, that's fine. But if you want to experience success, you have to go try out and get on the playing field. Mm-hmm. And when you get on the playing field, what's going to happen is there's going to be a coach, there's going to be a team, and there's going to be a strategy to win. And so if you want to get out there, you have to align yourself with the coach. You have to get on the team, and then you got to follow the winning strategy. And so it takes that intentional effort to get out there and get in the game, or at least try out and then see where you fit.
No, that's great. That's awesome. Another question I get a lot is, do you really need a coach?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So I think there's two answers to that. No, you don't need a coach. You don't have to have a coach if you have that infusion of energy coming from somewhere else. If you have sometimes a board of directors, or you have a mentor that you're kind of walking with, if you have that support structure to help you, then that might fill that role. The more important question is, do I need support? And do I need direction? Because the answer is you absolutely need those things. And so if you don't have the board to help you, you don't have the mentor, you don't have the support structure, you don't have friends that already are in the business with you, or a roundtable group or something, then a coach is going to fill those gaps. A coach a lot of times will either have been there before you, or knows how to ask the right questions, or help you make the right plan to get where you want to go. So that's where it fills in the blank. If you're just completely content with where you're at and you're happy and you have the ball rolling and you have the support structure you need and the infusion of energy you need and the energy you need from everybody to hit your goals, then the answer might be you don't need it maybe right now. You might need it another time. But if you don't have that, and there is a sense of being stuck, or there is a sense of, boy, I sure don't want to feel alone here, then that's where I think a coach comes in and really can be a game changer, because with a coach, we're always moving forward. Mm-hmm. And that's the key. Are you moving forward at the pace you want to move? If not, then the answer might be that you need somebody to come in there and support you and to ask the right questions to help you strategically align yourself with the place you want to go in the future.
Great point. That's really great. And in terms of visibility, why do you think people have such a strong resistance to it? I speak to so many women that they don't even know how to get started with getting visible, or they have a lot of, resistance. I know I had a lot of resistance to being visible too. I had to do a lot of mindset work to help get over my fear and insecurity to get myself visible. But it was a game changer for me and my business. So do you believe it's mostly a mindset piece, or is it strategy?
Yeah. I really think that, like anything, we develop a skill set. Mm-hmm. And there's a hunger you have to go after something, to learn something. My daughter was, I think, 6 or 7. It was either somewhere between her 6th and 7th birthday, right in that area. We got her an iPad game called Presidents versus Aliens. What she ended up doing with that was she learned all the presidents. She learned them frontwards and she learned them backwards. and we would be at family events downtown, and people would pay her money to recite the presidents from George Washington to President Obama. Okay. Now I say that because it took a desire for her to learn those presidents. It took a desire for those to learn. I also, another situation that comes to mind is I was talking to a lady who was creating accountability systems in Africa for small businesses. And she said that they're not doing it. They're not keeping each other accountable. And I remember we were sitting in this coffee shop and I said, well, accountability is a skill that you learn to keep people accountable with. And that was pretty eye-opening. It's the same thing with visibility. Visibility, most of us, I think, don't realize that we even need it. But once we realize we need it, you have to learn how to become visible. You have to learn the nuances of visibility. You have to be confident. Confidence comes by learning all the nuances and the aspects of what it means and how to behave and how to look and what to do when you become visible. And in a future segment, I want to talk about the story of Berry Gordy in Motown, because in a recent visit I had to Motown, I learned that when he was bringing the people that later became well known around the world, you talk about visibility. These people had visibility. We're talking about Diana Ross and Stevie Wonder and Michael Jackson and the Four Tops and Marvin Gaye and on and on and on, the Temptations, Aretha Franklin, people we would know about that really hit pop culture. Well, when they first worked with him, they didn't have that. And the key was getting him visibility. Everybody that came into his studio to even try out to sing, and they all came from about the same neighborhood. That was the crazy part of it. Most of the people that come out of Motown came from that one little neighborhood in Detroit. But the real key was he had like 4 coaches for them just when they tried out to sing a song. And those coaches were going to be how to dress and what to look like when you're on stage, how to walk on stage and what stage presence was, etiquette and manners, and how to handle yourself if you're talking to the president or the queen. And so he created them and he prepared them for visibility. And a lot of us unconsciously don't have the confidence for that because we've not prepared to be visible.
That's deep, Tim.
Yeah.
That's
important. We have to prepare people to get visible. We have to prepare people, just like you teach on sales. You have to be prepared for the sale. You have to rehearse that sale. You have to know where someone's at in the sales process. Or is it time to close? Do you do a test close? Where are you at? And if you don't know that, you're going to be all over the place like a flopping fish. You're going to have no confidence because it's not going to work.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Wow. I haven't heard anyone describe visibility that way just yet. First time I've heard it described that way. Everyone always immediately heads into a marketing plan, your social media strategy, your photographs. I mean, that's the deepest that I've heard anyone go is, make sure you have a wonderful photo shoot with great pictures.
Yeah.
But there is a big piece in preparing, absolutely. And the key to confidence is knowing what you're talking about, is knowing your stuff. That's the key to confidence. It's a big area that I've worked on in myself. I mean, I've been confident in my career, but it's a different type of confidence that's needed to put yourself out there as an expert. And there's a lot of resistance and a lot of, depending on who you are, but I think everyone has a certain level of negative self-talk that keeps us from moving forward. Hello, Carlo, welcome. That keeps us stuck. So it is definitely important to, like you said, prepare yourself for the visibility. So let's talk about a few ways to prepare for visibility. Let's say we're talking to a new coach who wants to create their first 6-figure year. Not multiple 6 figures, but let's say, consistent 10K months. And to do that, they need, let's say, 3 clients a month. Hello, Mr. Wonderful. What a wonderful name. Welcome to the lab. What is something that we can train them on so that they are prepared for the visibility needed for them to reach their goal? Yeah,
well, there are many aspects of this, and that's why I talk about the 4 seasons of business. And in the book that I'm writing in my program, the 4 seasons of business, of course, there's 4 elements of that, right? And yet there's also 2 elements that you have to prepare for. There's leadership, and there's also your strategy. But as far as really getting the visibility and then hitting those big paydays, I think it's different with everybody. And the one thing that I've found is vitally important is to treat each of my clients or each one of my members as unique individuals. Because I had somebody that came in and worked with me at the very beginning of 2012. And she had just moved from one city to another. She worked as a counselor. She was a doctor. And at her old city that she worked at, she had a very successful practice, but her practice was completely more or less given to her. It was given to her by the people who were in practice prior to her being in practice. So her father-in-law and some other people. Then she moves to another city, and she contacts me in early 2012, and she says, you know, I've changed cities, and I don't know how to get a client. Now, this is a lady that had a pretty big practice. She's making less than $1,000 a month, and she's in the one of the highest income areas of her city, and she's renting a very nice place, you know, to do her practice. So her rent alone is a whole lot more per month than the amount she's making. All right. Within 2 months, she was making over $7,000 a month within 2 months. And then that increased even more a few months later, within the next few months. Now, I had other people that I worked with 3 years prior to her, and even after working with her, they weren't making that. In fact, they hadn't progressed near as fast. And it's because inside she had the tools. So I gave her 2 books to read. And then we met each week to see how she was reading and was she implementing. So she was going out and she was making relationships with hospitals, psychiatrists, doctors, churches, all kinds of places. She was going out and developing these relationships, and it was creating referral partners, and they were just giving her the clients because they had that need already. So she was able to take what I was asking her to do. She did it offline and then online. And she did it, and it worked. It worked within a couple months. But again, then there's other people that don't have the background, don't have the products and services, don't have the confidence, don't have the experience, the degrees, the ways to package their products and services, and the understanding of their market. And so, again, I can work for them for 3 years, and they're not going to get where she got to in 2 months because they don't have some of those things. And you can teach them business processes and visibility all you want, but the underlying foundation was not there. And so that's what I found. That underlying foundation of having a solid product, of knowing that you can deliver and you can get good client reviews is so important when you're thinking about how am I going to grow my income quickly. You have to have those pieces in place, or you can grow and then it just falls apart again.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. Well, like my clients are all coaches, and then I have one speaker. And he, for example, is just starting out. So he's not even focused on the money piece yet because we're working through his branding, creating his identity so that he can get visible. And you're absolutely right. Like, there's no way he could just say, I want to make $10,000 a month in 6 months because he has no following. He has no visibility. He doesn't even know how to package his offerings. He did get his first client, which I'm really proud of him for. But
it's awesome.
He's like doing per hour. It wasn't like someone purchased a $10,000 package from him. They're just doing, if you like it, great, pay me. Because he didn't even have a package ready for when the client appeared. So it is really important to know where you are in your business journey and be okay with it.
Absolutely.
Because if the foundation isn't there, then all of the work that you do it's just going to fall apart on you, and it's going to be really frustrating. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So with all of these moving pieces, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just be in the plane here, just because of time in the next line. So why don't you share how you'd like to kind of land the plane and close out in a strong way today.
Sure, sure. So I want to bring it back to the internet because that's my domain. That's what, that's my thing.
Yep.
So how important is it for someone who has an entrepreneurial dream to, get that accountability, create that scoreboard, create that momentum and that action to get out of the overwhelm, to get unstuck so that they are really moving forward in their business instead of, just in an endless cycle of inaction, not accomplishing, and really sadness. Because if you have an entrepreneurial dream that's burning in your heart and you're not working towards that end goal, it makes you sad. So I want to end on a note of encouragement and maybe one or two action steps that our viewers can take so that they can feel good about themselves and start creating that momentum in their business and in their journey.
Yeah. If you're starting out, and you've just been working at it for a small period of time, I say, I always did a 1-page plan. And I'd say, okay, what's my mission, vision, values, 3-year goals, 1-year goals, next actions? And I say, just get it on 1 page. I have 1-page plans that I can supply people because know where you're going to do, and you got to be able to communicate that. Communicate that to your coach, communicate that to your sister, your brother, your husband, your wife, your child, your grandma, your parents, whoever is around you. You got to be able to communicate where you're going. So just get it and write it down, and then find somebody that's going to support you at least at this level, at least at a small level, to begin to move towards that. A lot of times people have resistance from a spouse, from people in their families to what they're doing, because an entrepreneurial spirit is a unique spirit that someone has, and it's out of the box. It's not the norm. It's not hey, you go get a 9-to-5 job and you take care of the bills and do what maybe they had in their family for 4 or 5 generations. An entrepreneurial spirit is an out-of-the-box, risk-taking adventure that not everybody can support around you.
Yeah.
And so you have to find where you're going to get support. Maybe it's a local score. Maybe it's the SBA. Maybe it's somewhere. It's a local university. You got to get out and find that support. Where's somebody going to help me? And it's essential to get unstuck. And so I just encourage everybody today, get your plans down on paper. Get it on 1 page. Get on like they say, the back of a napkin. Write it down. Know where where you want to go, and commit to that, and get somebody on your side. And you know what? We can be the people that are also on your side. We're here to help. We're here to give you those templates, to give you those plans, to provide tools for you, to provide encouragement, because we've been in that same boat. And nothing impacted me as I was getting started, like reading a chapter out of Napoleon Hill's book on the law of success. And he talked about where he didn't have support. He seemed like kind of a radical. They didn't understand him. And I felt that same way a little bit when I was getting started. I felt like certain people didn't understand me, and I was going to have to take a back seat, and I was going to even maybe have to go back and live with my parents for a little bit, but I had a dream, and I wasn't willing to give up on that dream. And so if you need support, we know where you've been as you're starting your business, and we know what it takes to provide you with all the tools, all the support, and the energy to get to where you're going to go.
Awesome. So on that note, I think we can call it a day.
Yep.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So thank you for all of our replay viewers and our live viewers. We're so grateful that you've tuned in and listened to what we had to say. We have a lot of awesome content coming your way. We will be here every Wednesday, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to come catch us live and join us on a hot seat, you're more than welcome to. And we are looking to build our tribe of people and to share. Hello, welcome. We are just wrapping up. Thank you for joining our blab. Definitely catch the replay. So thank you again to all of our viewers, and we will see you next week, same time. All right, so in the meantime, keep your eye on the mark and aim for success.